Humans are wired to learn through action. We don't master riding a bike by reading a manual. We master it by pedaling, falling, and adjusting our balance in real time. But true experiential learning has a hard physical limit. If a chemistry student needs to understand the exact mixture that causes a thermal runaway, actually mixing those chemicals risks severe injury. Modern education made a necessary compromise. To keep students safe, we pulled them out of the field and behind desks. We replaced the physical manipulation of the world with abstract representations, textbook diagrams, lectures, and rote memorization. By prioritizing physical safety, the traditional classroom stripped away the deep cognitive engagement that only comes from trial and error. We created safe environments, but left a void in how we actually master complex, real-world skills. The first major attempt to bridge this gap happened in 1929 with the Link Trainer. It was a mechanical flight simulator built to let pilots practice the deadly art of aviation without ever leaving the ground. By 1968, the solution moved from physical mechanics to digital spaces. Computer scientist Ivan Sutherland and his team created the Sword of Damocles, the very first computer-generated virtual reality headset. For decades, this kind of immersive technology remained highly specialized. It was locked behind massive military and aerospace budgets, used to train astronauts and fighter pilots, but kept entirely out of reach for the general public. These early machines proved that we could successfully trick the human brain into learning safely within a simulated environment. The next generational hurdle was shrinking million-dollar aerospace technology so it could fit inside a public school classroom. The solution arrived by accident. In the 2010s, the global smartphone boom required the mass production of tiny, high-resolution screens and cheap gyroscopes. Almost overnight, the hardware components required for virtual reality plummeted in price. In 2014, Google released Cardboard, a simple fold-out viewer that turned any inexpensive smartphone into a VR headset. Immersive technology was suddenly democratized for mainstream educational use. Schools began adopting virtual laboratories. Using affordable headsets, biology students can dissect a virtual frog, and chemistry students can mix volatile compounds, entirely removing the physical risk and the recurring cost of lab supplies. This chart illustrates the engagement gap. When you remove the fear of physical failure or breaking expensive equipment, a student's willingness to experiment and participate spikes dramatically compared to traditional textbook learning. Dropping the price of VR hardware turned the student from a passive observer of information into an active, fearless experimenter. Immersive tools quickly expanded beyond the STEM fields. In geography, augmented reality sandboxes allow students to physically shape real sand, while a projection maps real-time topographical data directly onto their creations. In history classes, 360-degree video transports students to the center of ancient ruins or historical events. Standing inside a spatially accurate recreation of a Roman forum builds a level of cultural empathy and scale impossible to extract from a flat page. There is a common assumption that putting on a headset isolates a student, but modern platforms drop multiple users into shared virtual workspaces. Students represent themselves as digital avatars and physically collaborate in real time to solve three-dimensional problems. However, this technology has strict physical limits. Educational researchers have found that to prevent simulator sickness and avoid cognitive overload, teachers must restrict these sessions to highly focused 3 to 4 minute bursts. When deployed in these short, targeted bursts, the technology actively builds vital non-cognitive skills, forcing students to use critical thinking and teamwork to navigate their environment. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic forced billions of students into remote learning. Staring at a grid of faces on a flat monitor for hours rapidly exposed the severe psychological and collaborative limits of two-dimensional video calls. Looking at this timeline of educational technology, we can track the rapid acceleration of VR adoption starting from the 2020 pandemic block, leading directly into the 2021 rise of hybrid learning models that successfully blended physical and digital realities. This progression paved the way for fully virtual campuses. By enabling translocal teaching, geographic distance no longer dictates the quality of a student's education. Peers from across the globe can sit in the same digital lecture hall. By restoring the three-dimensional presence that flat video calls lacked, these borderless campuses allowed students to maintain high-level collaboration while physically separated by thousands of miles. In 2024, the integration of generative AI pushed virtual reality into a new phase. Instead of exploring static, pre-programmed environments, students can now enter dynamic digital spaces that instantly respond and adapt to their inputs. This animation demonstrates the concept of a digital twin. It's a virtual replica of a complex physical system, like a mechanical engine. Powered by AI, the digital version can react and behave in real time, based exactly on the student's specific actions and mistakes. A history student can walk through a hyper-realistic simulation of ancient Rome that actively builds itself around the user in real time, adjusting the complexity of the information based on the student's individual learning pace. Artificial intelligence transforms virtual reality into a responsive simulator, providing students a safe, customized environment to master the world through active experience.